Welcome, everybody. Two Minds, One Podcast. Raymond.
Nathan.
Episode 19.
19 episodes, huh?
Yeah.
Almost 20.
Almost 20. We'll get there. So today, I want to talk about something that you reminded me of. That NASA, or I don't know if it's just NASA deciding this, right? But they're retiring the ISS space station.
The International Space Station.
Yes, the International Space Station.
They're putting it in a retirement home.
And decommissioned. They're going to replace it with some other space station.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What are their plans for it?
So they say it's set to be decommissioned in the 2030s.
So here in the coming up decade.
Yeah. So it should be. And their plan is, what got me interested when you told me about that was how are they going to, like, what are they going to do with it, right?
Because they're going to shoot it into the sun, dude. Come on.
Right? Like, are they going to shoot it to the sun? Are we going to send it off to exit the solar system and just, like, orbit away?
I highly doubt it.
Right? So it got me looking into it, and according to the Washington Post, NASA is going to bring it down into the ocean. Like, crash it down into the ocean.
Cool. Is it not going to burn up?
I mean, it would, like, wouldn't it burn up?
I guess parts of it would burn up. I don't know.
Yeah, but couldn't it, like, fall apart? And then
I don't work for NASA.
They
must have thought it through. I mean, that's kind of cool. It'd be cool if they put it in a museum and you can, like, go through it and walk through it and see. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool, but most of it's gonna be destroyed on entry, dude.
Tomato, dude. I'd still walk through a bird tube to say that this was part of the ISS.
Talking about like NASA out in what is it, Florida, right? Where you can go walk the space shuttles.
Yeah.
You get to go inside it and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the museum, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can see the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
The one that delivered Hubble.
Mm-hmm. That would be pretty cool if they did do the space station in the museum. To go check it out.
It'd be pretty cool, dude.
All right, because it looks really small from the videos, like on the inside, not smaller.
I think your definition of small and my definition of small are very different definitions. It's pretty massive. Mm-hmm. It houses like 12 people, so it is cylindrical.
Oh yeah.
So,
but you're not like, it's small, but what I mean. It's big, but what I mean by small is like, it's not like standing up all the time, kind of big.
Yeah.
It's not like a room. Like the room, you see a room, and you're like, you got kind of space to move around. You know what I mean?
Nah, not if you live in New York, dude. Them New York rooms are fucking tiny. I actually found out recently that New York is doing this thing where they're renovating old apartment buildings and turning them into micro apartments. I don't know if that's the correct term for them, but they're smaller apartments. I think like 150 square foot. That's how much you get. And you just get a bed. And you get like a little dresser area and some storage underneath your bed and some storage above your bed. And you get a communal bathroom and shower.
Communal.
So
kind of like a hostel.
Kind of like a hostel, yeah.
But you get a kitchen, like a little sort of.
Yeah.
You're like separate. You're not sharing bunks.
Yeah. You get your own little space, yeah.
Yeah, a hostel where you have communal showers and bathrooms and stuff.
Yeah. And so, like, in, like, one floor, they have, like, 120.
So are these, like, decommissioned apartments?
I have no idea, dude. I have no idea.
Or like, they old apartments that nobody's using anymore?
It's probably just apartments that somebody decided to, recommission or upgrade.
I mean, I guess it works, right? Because you'll be able to, like, you have 30 apartments and then you
turn them into 130.
Yeah, you turn them to 100. If they're each 1,000 square feet and you do 140, you're doubling, tripling the amount of people you can put in there.
Yeah, and then instead of charging, $3,000 for an apartment, you charge everybody $600. 600 times 130 is more than 10.
Then 30 times.
Yeah.
3,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's still.
It's insane, right?
Yeah, but who's gonna want to live like that?
I don't know. I don't know who'd want to live like that. I know it definitely is appealing to a certain subset of people.
I mean, I guess that would work.
I mean,
if
only
you
people
target
that live
tourists more.
No,
would work.
no, you're only targeting single people, young people that want to live in the city to do city things. People, because like in New York, you really don't own a car. You have taxis and you have Uber and you have Lyft when you walk, and you have the train, right?
Yeah.
People really don't own houses in New York unless you got money.
Well,
so the average person
so you're talking about New York City. Yes. There's actually people that own houses in New York to stay outside. I'm
talking about New York City.
Yeah, New York City.
Well, this apartment isn't in just random New York. It's in New York City. So.
That's pretty wild.
So I guess it kind of makes sense. It appeals to a certain set of people who really don't but really don't use their home for anything more than like sleeping and getting ready for the day, and they spend the majority of their time out and about.
It kind of reminds me of that movement, tiny homes. But like,
tiny homes are sick.
Like tiny apartment, right? It's like a tiny apartment.
It's like a micro apartment.
Yeah,
it's
tiny homes.
It's like the size of a closet, pretty much, is what you're living in, slightly bigger.
Yeah, no, you're like
it's like a walk-in closet. It's the size of a walk-in closet. That's what your room is the size of.
So what are they gonna sleep on? Futons? Like in Japan?
I don't know. They sleep on these. The one I saw, they slept on these wooden beds that came out of the room, and they had like a mattress on top of it.
Like it slid out of the wall or something?
It was like part of the wall.
Oh.
So like
like it folded down or something?
No, it was just sticking out the entire time. It's cantilevered, cantilevered off the wall.
So it doesn't like hide away to give you more space.
No, there's just like 2 feet of storage underneath the bed, and then you have like above the bed you had like a shelf of space.
I'm gonna have to look this up and put pictures on for people.
But it's pretty interesting apartments in New York City.
NYC. That actually showed up.
I told you.
Cool. Okay.
Look up images, dude. It's very interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to.
They're very tiny.
Micro apartment minimum.
Yeah, and it appeals to people who don't really have a lot of objects too.
So micro apartments, minimum apartment size in New York. And look, in this one it shows a bathroom, a little kitchen, like a bed and sofa in the same place, and a little like office section. This looks like 200-300 square feet.
Yeah, that's all they are, dude.
Yeah.
The ones that I saw it got rid of the the bathroom. So you only had really your little kitchen area.
Oh, you like really micro.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting, and to see how highly dense,
like how many people want to live there.
Yeah, and it's a super busy city, dude, and it's very interesting why people want to live there. I've always questioned why people want to live in the United States and live in LA. Not United States, sorry. Live in LA and NYC. It's very packed, and there's always traffic and stuff. It's very interesting. And I guess for a certain set of people, it really does appeal to those looking to... You always hear, I want to make it. Right?
Oh, yeah, you want to do the New York...
The New Yorker thing, or the city life thing. Like, they enjoy the city life of going out in the evenings and doing stuff within a walking distance of things, and meeting strangers and stuff like that. It's very, very much that type of personality.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Why?
So I did 90 square foot micro studio for $700.
Yep.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
But talking about these micro apartments reminded me
of tiny homes you were telling me about.
Of tiny homes. No,
I think tiny homes are cool.
It reminded me of older style Japan hotels, or the resorts at Hot Springs.
Yeah?
Yeah, where they bring out the futons and you sleep on those, but then they like clean out the room and they put a table.
I saw
like
a video.
A studio.
I saw a video that said that
you know what I mean?
Americans really misuse their space, and they could use a lot more space
more efficiently.
Yeah, because it was a satire video, and they were saying pretty much that Americans always have, they get these large beds, and they take up 85% of the space in their room, right? Because the rooms are relatively smaller, right? And you have no room to do anything there, right? But if you do what Japanese people do is, they have essentially their bed is the floor, right? And then they're going to go to bed. They get a bunch of like
futons or like inflatable
mattresses, and they set that up, and they go to bed.
Yeah. And then they clean it up
in the morning. Right? So it's usable space if you want to have company over or whatnot, right? And it's very interesting to see
it's actually rare, or not common to see beds like for having homes. A lot of what I hear out there in Japan, like the older style, like outside of the city.
I've heard about that.
They don't have like beds like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's definitely a different lifestyle in the sense of, in culture wise as well. Like, Japanese people are not a culture of excess, and where Americans are 100% are in the culture of excess.
Oh yeah.
All you got to think of is Texas.
Oh my god.
Everything's bigger in Texas. And Texas, California, and New York are like the big states that, everyone outside of the United States knows of, that, when they think of the United States, they think of these, iconic states and stuff. Right?
But if you think about it, it's probably because the United States has so much land.
Yeah, the United States is
so much
massive.
Land. Massive.
It's ginormous in comparison to Europe and things like that. Like, California is the same size as Great Britain, I think, or something like that, or larger.
It's huge.
It's humongous.
If you just think about it, like, if you count Alaska, I mean, Canada's huge too, right? Right. Also, but like, a lot of it isn't like livable because it's harsh weather, right?
Yep.
Most of the year. But they also have massive amounts of land.
They do.
Yeah.
But a lot of their land is covered in like forest and
mountains,
rugged
mountains, snow year round.
Right. Whereas, California is, not California, United States is so massive that even when we're sparsely populated, even when we're super densely populated, we're still pretty spread out.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, California is the most populated state in America. And when you go for a drive, you see acres of emptiness.
There's still emptiness, yeah.
Huge amounts.
Yep.
And then you think about Alaska, which you can fit like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho,
and Texas.
And Texas in
it's
there.
Larger than
it's
Alaska's
huge.
Ginormous. Yeah.
But back to tiny homes.
Tiny homes. They're really cool.
Yeah.
I would never own one as my primary home.
Like an Airbnb or something.
I think I would 100%
cool
enjoy
to check out, you know what I mean?
Airbnb in a tiny home. And it has this sense of...
Tiny home is like 500 square feet and under, no? Or something?
It's like 1,000 square feet or under. It's small.
Well, I think I stayed in one then.
I don't know. But they had this sense of like coziness to them. Just built into them. It's very much like... Yeah. Tiny homes are cool. They're very cozy, and they have like a warmthness to them. I don't know. As the French would say, je ne sais quoi, a certain thing about them.
Yeah. So 225 square feet.
225.
Tiny home. Yeah, average size of a tiny home.
That's an apartment. That's an apartment. Yeah, I've been inside a tiny home. Then that's an apartment.
Yeah, that's tiny, dude. Some hotel rooms are bigger than that.
Yeah, some hotel rooms are bigger than that, especially like the ones in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like those tiny homes that are like in the wilderness, those are really cool. Like I've seen a lot of those.
Like people, the cabin style.
The cabin style, and kind of like in like a very forested area. Speaking of very forested area, out on the East Coast they have this. I forgot the name of the trail. It's a very, very, very legendary, popular trail in the East Coast. And it pretty much goes through all of their mountains and all of the remaining wilderness and forest left in the East Coast, because the East Coast used to be very dense very dense forest. So it's actually part of that. Remember we were talking about what's the national park that has the highest attendance?
Oh yeah, out in North Carolina, was it?
I don't remember if it's North Carolina, but
I think it was North Carolina, North or South, one of the Carolinas, if I remember.
It was, yeah, but it was most people would think it'd be like Zion National or Yellowstone or Glacier or Yosemite, all these big name parks.
I thought it was Yellowstone for sure.
I thought it was Yellowstone for sure too, right? But it was actually that other park that I can't remember the name of, which is funny because we just rattled off. You
talking about the Appalachian Trail?
The Appalachian Trail. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
That one's it's very gorgeous, very 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 long. It takes months.
It's 2,190 miles.
It takes months.
Crosses 14 states.
Yep, it takes months to cross, and people do it sometimes in sections or all in one go.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think there's a movie where somebody goes through that trail.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of movies that talk about it, but that's a trail that that trail goes through all that wilderness and national parks, and and it's very beautiful in that area, and it's something I'd like to visit. So those of you who like the outdoors, I highly recommend the Appalachian Trail. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. It's pretty crazy. Over here in the West Coast, we have something similar. It's called the John Muir Trail.
Yeah.
Through the Sierra Nevadas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's significantly shorter. I believe it's like a 2 to 4 week hike.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, the John Muir Trail, you can hike Mount Whitney,
mm-hmm.
which is the highest peak in California.
Oh.
You can go to the top of it.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it's right off the 395. That's
pretty cool.
Mount Whitney is crazy.
Talking about the Appalachian, that reminded me. You remember when we did the half marathon, Glacier.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember that chick we met running? Well, me and Louie met when we were running through,
mm-hmm.
right? And she's the hiker that she was hiking through Glacier.
Great Smoky National Park is the #1 most visited park.
Great Smoky. And in what state?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Yeah. And she told her story how she started trail.
Yeah.
Right? Trail hiking or hiking, period. She started by doing the Appalachian Trail.
It's in North Carolina and Tennessee.
North Carolina, Tennessee.
Yep. That's where it's located.
Yeah. She did the Appalachian Trail. That was the first thing. She was already, she said she was from out there. I forgot what state it was. But I think Tennessee was the state that she said. But she worked as an accountant for a little bit. Saved all her money.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went 6 months and did the Appalachian Trail.
That's awesome.
And then she was hooked. And so now what she did, she would do a work stay
mm-hmm.
somewhere that she wants to go visit. She'd find a place where she can stay and work and make some money, and then work there for a little bit, save some money, then go do some hiking, some backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that's what it is backpacking.
Yeah.
She would do some backpacking. And that's what she was doing out in Glacier. She was out in the park for 2 weeks before the marathon.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then right after the marathon, I think 2 days later, she flew out to Hawaii. Oh no, to Vermont. She went to Vermont, and she was gonna stay at a farm and help out there. And
that's cool.
help people do part of the Appalachian Trail. It's pretty cool.
You ever think people that do that have a more fulfilling life than people who don't? Maybe.
She was super happy. She was just yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you ever think that maybe they have something figured out about it that the rest of us don't have? Because, I don't know, man. To do stuff like that, it's so...
I've wanted to backpack and stay somewhere. Like,
try
that out.
But everybody
you know what I mean?
wants to do it. That's the thing.
But to do it.
It's to actually
go and do it. Yeah.
Right? It's different. It's differing goals, I think, what it ultimately comes up to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying those people don't have high goals. Their goals are...
No, I feel like
high. They're high and they're hard and they're challenging in their own way.
I feel like, have you heard the saying where a businessman goes to Mexico, to a little fishing town, meets a fisherman who goes out, catches fish for the day, comes back, sells it.
I've heard this,
right?
This fable before.
Yes, right. Sells it, and then goes home, hangs out with his family, goes drinks with his buddies, goes dances, and then does it again. Comes back home, goes to sleep, does it again the next day.
Yeah.
And so then the businessman tells him, why don't you go out, catch more fish and get more boats and then grow? And he goes, okay, what am I going to do? What would I do after that? He goes, well, then you grow it huge to a multi-million-dollar business. And he goes, okay, so then what do I do after that? And he goes, well, then once you do that, you go to a beach, you sit back and retire and drink with your homies and dance with your wife. And he was like, but I'm already doing that. So why
would I do that?
Why would I go and do that?
Yeah.
And that scenario of like this girl, that reminded me of that. This woman who was doing that. You know, she was 22 and she was just enjoying life.
Think about all the stories she's gonna have, dude. Like when she gets older,
bro. She was telling me stories right there.
Yeah, but
we were walking up the hill because those first 5 miles are killer, right? She was telling me, she's like, yeah. She goes, my tent, the winds were like 42 miles an hour because she was camping on top of Twin Peaks out there in Glacier. Crazy. She was like, blew my tent over and broke it.
That's crazy, dude.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Wild, right?
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those people, I feel like sometimes they have something figured out that we don't. It's very interesting. You know?
It's instead of going for the excess to where you don't have to worry about your survival, I guess, right? Your needs, not have to worry about your needs versus just enough for your needs. And that's it. Like, that's what kind of where she was at, right? Because she was like, oh, yeah, I just eat cup of noodles and, like, whatever she gets.
Yeah.
Because she's walking 24 miles in a day, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's burning like 10,000 calories easily, right? Eating anything and then just relaxing, not worrying. Because she don't have bills. She don't got nothing. Just pops a campfire, puts on some coffee, relax, go to sleep, wake up the next day, go walk another 22 miles, eat, stop, enjoy the view, set down camp again. I'm gonna lie, that sounds really fun.
It sounds really fun
to try it out.
It reminds me of what it reminds me of is people that do that. Kind of remind me of a monk in a sense. The reason being is because monks, what they do is they say they give up all their worldly possessions to reach enlightenment, right? And their enlightenment is like becoming who they're supposed to be and being fully detached from any material thing or want or lust or whatever, right? And it's essentially they're reaching enlightenment and being happy and whatnot. And it seems like some people do that not in the same sense as they do, but in a different sense, because they just do.
They just do.
They don't, they think, but they don't really think. They just do. They go, oh, I want to do that. Let's go do that. Right? And it's almost like they have that still childlike wonder and luster in their soul.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? Because when you look at children just do.
Yeah.
They don't question and they don't question am I what I'm doing right now is the right thing? Is it what I should be doing?
They just do.
What should I be doing? Am I doing everything like everybody else? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? They don't question that.
Am I headed where I want to be headed?
Yeah, exactly. Am I going where I want to go? Right? Is this the right thing to do? Children don't question that. They just do, and they just exist, which is why they're so free, right?
For real.
And I feel like all too often in our modern society that is chastised in adults, especially when they tell you eventually you have to grow up. Eventually,
right?
Eventually, you have to be like us. And I find it so interesting because when I started working, right, and telling people that I was working after I'd graduated from university, they're like, "Oh, well, welcome to the adulthood, welcome to the shit, welcome to all of this, right? Welcome to the grind. By the way, it never ends, And it's
and they do. You're right.
And it's so interesting, like,
cause she helped me push through the cramps, like the last mile, where right, cause I started cramping. I'm like mile 11, and mile 12 to the end. She caught up to me, right? Because she was just walking the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Come on, let's go." And she ran the last mile with me to the end. My legs locked up. And she was just like, yeah. Like, she had this.
I'm telling you, it's like a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's what I said, it's, that they were never chastised for, wanting to do more and, because all too often we tell everybody that's younger than us, enjoy it while it lasts because, eventually it's going to come to an end, but when the reality is it doesn't inherently have to come to an end.
We probably shouldn't be saying
it only comes to an end because we say that.
Well, because we think that way, right?
Yeah, because, that's because that's what's engraved into you, right? And it's so interesting when you see those people and, a lot... Those kind of people, everybody who meets them is always like, oh, they're so different, they're so happy, and they have so little, right?
And then you hear the other end, oh, they're not going to have nothing in their future.
Yeah, they're not going to ruin
anything. Their bodies. They're like, right. All this, like, who cares? Like, if you lived such a great life and you do keep doing that into your 40s and 50s and you do end up dying at that age, like, so what?
Your life was
fulfilled. You did not need of anything.
People, yeah.
I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't be
at that
sad
point.
For them.
At that point, it becomes a quality of life versus quantity of life, right?
Oh, they had plenty of quantity.
Quality, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They had plenty of quality, right? Because like in what what she does in a year is what people do in 10 years.
Oh, yeah, what some people do in 10 years. Or a lifetime.
Or an entire lifetime. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's refreshing to meet people like that. It's also depressing because it makes you question, am I doing insane? Am I the one in the Matrix, stuck in the rat race?
Yep. It does.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and it was crazy. You know how she ended up on the half marathon? Her friend just signed her up because she went with the group.
Oh, nice.
She went with the group of backpackers, right? And one of the people in the group signed up the entire group. So the whole group. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, she walked the whole thing in like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I have a question now. What do you think? Do you think people like that are afforded that luxury because they were born into
not poverty?
Not poverty, and are not constantly thinking about their survival and are not being hindered by what people can and can't say?
I think most of them, probably. Most of them.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't poor, for sure. She wasn't like poverty because she liked hike. She liked outdoor stuff, and she did outdoor stuff with her family.
Mm-hmm.
And she lived in a state that had a lot of outdoor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
but you can't always do outdoor stuff when you're poor and trying to eat every day or
pay rent.
Your family's trying to put food on the table, lights, water.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it shows you that you don't need to be filthy rich, but somebody needs to make a sacrifice so that someone else in the generation would be able to do that, in a sense. Because she did go to school. She did graduate, right? Worked as an accountant. And then saved up and said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work.
That's fair. That's fair. It's quite interesting. People who do that, you know. Funny enough, that brings it up. There's another YouTuber I watch. She's this girl who just travels.
Well, now with YouTube, that kind of changes the whole environment because you can do what you love and get paid through YouTube if you have enough subscribers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but there's people that have been doing that, though.
Oh, yeah, before that?
There's people that do that and they don't do anything. They just, you know, you just meet a random person on the street and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, I traveled to India. I traveled to Tibet, you know. I went to Afghanistan. How'd you get there?
Like, I just got a one-way ticket.
I got a one-way ticket. You know, I backpacked. I stayed at hostels. I worked. Yeah. I did odd jobs. And, like, how'd you deal with the language barrier? You know, it was hard at first, you know, and just blah, 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 blah. And then
you find nice people.
And they help you out. And, and those people, like...
It's crazy.
They reinvigorate my belief in humanity because it's all too often that I hear people that go out and do stuff and people always help them, you know, like I feel like with social media and
I actually hear that a lot.
I feel like social media and a lot and, you know, in news and however we're connected, they
glorify the bad stuff.
Yes, there's a microscope on all the bad stuff and all the good stuff really goes unnoticed, right? And it's very interesting because I hear that, you know, like most people are nice around the world, right? And they're caring. And obviously not everyone's going to be nice because, you know, everyone is. There's always bad people, right? And, you know, you always hear about
people with a bad day.
Yeah. And you always hear those also, you know, those tragedies of people that are like, oh yeah, you know, so-and-so went backpacking in this country, you know, for a vacation. And they got murdered, you know, or they got abducted, right? You know, and that does happen. And unfortunately, you know, that is a risk, you know, that one has to accept and take.
Yeah, but how likelihood is it happening, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Funny enough, I have the likelihood thing reminding me of something. I have a saying in my head whenever I'm doing something or thinking about something, right? And the saying is, am I going to become a statistic, right? Because, you know, it's like, you know, you're driving home at night, you know, and accidents happen all the time at night.
All the time.
Right? And it's not even, sometimes, you know, in life, you can do everything right and still lose.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do nothing wrong and still lose. Right? Because there is no...
There's other people around.
Yeah, because there is no finite set of rules and, you know, saying if you do all these things, your life's going to be good. It just is. Life just is. Right? And so I always think about, am I going to be a statistic tonight? You know, am I going to be a victim of something, you know, a mugging or whatever or something like that? Yeah. And it's very interesting to think about that. And it's a very funny way that I think about it.
That's a funny way. It also reminds me of hospitals, you know. It's like, my wife's a nurse, right? And nurses, now I've talked to a lot of nurses, and they have this, they're always so paranoid about things, the statistic, like you said, happening. And to me, it's crazy. It's like, because you work at the place where all the statistics, all the statistics happened, and they go because it happened. So you see all the times that it went wrong.
Yeah, you see all the times the headache turned out to be, oh, you got brain cancer.
Yeah, or
all the times, I have this lump in my neck. Oh, you got skin cancer.
Or all the times that instead of just being a cold, it was like,
oh, you got fourth stage leukemia or lymphoma or something. Yeah. You know,
or those rare cases, right? Like
turns out you got
a baby escaped the house and got attacked by wild dogs.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I always think about it like I don't want to be a statistic, but unfortunately, the truth is
more than once we'll be a statistic.
No, the truth is you're always a statistic.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
You're either on one end or the other.
You're just which one are you gonna fall into, right? Like whether it be a good statistic, people who come from poverty and make it, or you're gonna be a bad statistic, or you're gonna be the unfortunate statistic of oh my god, they were so young and then they got diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. And
or you're just the normal statistic, the average.
Or you're just the average. Your statistic is just the average. You live 75 years, you have kids, you live a mediocre life, and you die, and then that's it, right? And so it's really interesting when you look at it.
It makes you think, right?
It makes you think because you always think. At least I always thought that people always think, I'm the main character of my life.
And you are.
But everyone else is also the main character of their lives, right?
Yeah.
And no one
you're running around with a bunch of main characters.
Yeah, but no one thinks they're going to be the main character that's given the, oh, by the way, you're 23.
Or the shit in the stick.
Yeah, the shit in the stick. By the way, you're 23. Right. It's crazy how every time you exercise, you got a pain in your chest. Well, it turns out that was because you got lung cancer, even though you don't smoke.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and unfortunately, those cases are all too common and uncommon, right? Because you don't hear about them as often, but when you're in that circle,
you're in the hospital, you hear it more.
Exactly.
Because that's where they all go.
Right. And unfortunately, it's
kind of like the news. That's kind of what the news does, too, right? Like,
the
news focuses on all the statistics that went bad.
Yeah.
Because, like, tragedy sells, right?
Well, yeah, that's why some of the greatest artworks of all time have been tragedies. Like that's why the Greeks were obsessed with tragedies, right? You look at all their stories; they're tragedies.
Oh yeah.
You look at the Odyssey. You look at Odysseus. You look at Oedipus.
You look
at Oedipus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they were obsessed with tragedy, and that bled into all future religions and stuff too, or artwork and stuff. Because you look at Christianity. What is Christianity the story of? It's a story of Jesus Christ's tragedy, sacrifice that he gave
God's son
for everyone.
Yep.
Right? Humans are obsessed with tragedies, right?
Is that a nature thing, though? You think? It'd be a nature thing because we learn from that to avoid that?
No, I think it's a hardship thing. We look at tragedies because they're hardships that characters endure.
Okay.
Right? And you relate to those hardships. Because everyone's life is difficult in their own sense.
Yeah.
Right? As much as we harp about what
is
really hard and what's not really hard. But everyone has their own of those hard scenarios, right? Everyone has their own challenges that they have to go through.
Well, yeah.
Right?
You don't think it's one of those, like, caveman situations where we saw somebody walk off a cliff and they died, so we don't do that no more. That's tragic. But we learned a lesson, kind of. I think it's a little bit of both.
It could be.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I think the reason why we hyperfixate on them or fixate on them is an evolutionary reason.
A survival?
Yeah, but I don't think... I can't attribute it to just be so simple of a factor.
No. Nowadays, I don't think it's that simple. We're no longer simple, right?
Even back then, dude, we had civilizations of hundreds of thousands, right? Right? They had cities of 100 plus thousand people.
Now in cavemen.
No, but I'm talking about 500 BC.
You're talking about a little bit.
Greece.
You're talking about after that.
I'm talking about 500 BC, Greece, Rome.
I think it started with the nature thing, And as we've grown more intelligent over time.
Yeah, we tell stories of tragedy so that way they learn not to do things, right?
Yeah. And that's what
fables
evolved,
are.
Yeah. Fables.
Right?
Mm-hmm. It's evolved into what you said now. The hardships that we relate to them now. Like, sometimes they're inspirational, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. It's a reminder.
I don't know. I feel like, regardless of not, they're inspirational regardless, because usually you can see someone always has it worse. So it gives you perspective. And I think that's another reason why we're so obsessed with tragedies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying like, if you have a story of a man who is born, to a family, and then he's given away, and then he's raised by an abusive person, and then he's brought up he's adopted by his own father, who ends up teaching him music, who ends up dying for him, not knowing that was his son, and things like crazy things happen in life.
That's a wild story. That got me intrigued right now. Right, what you said.
Yeah, so that's just like one of the infinite possibilities of how life and stories can go, and you can relate to them and be like, dang, life is hard, my life is difficult, but
it ain't that bad.
If a person can do this and survive this and still come out,
then I can go through it.
Whatever is hard
I'm
for
going
me.
through right now.
Exactly. And it's
true,
almost and I think the root cause of it is we share pain through stories, and through that pain we relate to each other, which allows us to continue. So it's
a very strong force of communication, a very effective communication.
I would say communication and
it's connection.
Yeah. What was the other word I was going to look for?
Yeah, there's another one.
It's communication. It's obviously connection, because you connect.
Well, yeah, because
it's like resonating.
You bond. Yeah,
it's like resonating with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you understand.
Yeah,
right. And it
actually helps you bond too. Like, with somebody. They say that you meet people that have tragic things happen to them as well, or similar things to you, and you guys bond. I mean, you want
to know why people in university have friendships that last longer than they do in high school?
What, the hardships they go through university? The struggles? Yeah, because you guys did it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it builds bonds. I mean, it's like...
It's the same reason why people that go to war with, they call them their war brothers.
Yeah. Or, I mean, alcoholics, right? Or people in drugs. When they get better, they go into groups and they do it
together.
As a group together.
Mm-hmm. We share a pain.
And we help each other overcome this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's
deep.
Why.
It's deep why we, as humans, do mostly talk about the tragic stuff.
Yeah.
It gets deep.
It does. Stuff. Like, even in the example you're talking about, people going into AA meetings, what do they say? They go, hey, my name is so-and-so.
And I'm addicted to
X.
Or my drug was X.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when they talk to them, the way they relate is somebody who's talking about, like, I fucked up, I did this, how can I be so bad, the person who is their mentor, their sober person, right, tells them, yeah, I remember when I was, hooked on X, and I did this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I could have gone through that and still make it here, there's a chance for you, right, as long as you follow the steps. And that burden almost, that's self-imposed, becomes lifted. And it's another form of tragedy that we're talking about that we hyperfixate.
It's like somebody helping you lift the earth, your burden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's all too often you feel like the burdens, because everyone thinks they're the main character.
And you think you're the only one going through it.
Going through these burdens. And so those tragedies and those, talking about the pain is what helps lift that and, elevates communities. Right?
True.
Right? Because even when you think about it even more, like, you look at relationships, good times are good, but when you go through a hard time in a relationship and you come out of the end of that, the relationship normally ends up stronger.
Yeah.
It's a stronger connection, because you weathered that storm, whatever it is.
Yes.
Right? And so I think that's the fundamental crux of why we're so fixated on, hard things or negative things or tragedies, right? Or pain.
Yeah. It's amazing to me.
The way the human brain is amazing, and how we cope with things. It's very interesting.
Because it applies into different tragedies of different levels. Mm-hmm. It applies. I mean, because like school, right? College, like you said, why are they? It's not as tragic as a bond of war buddies.
No.
But yet, it builds almost the same bond. Mm-hmm. Not as strong, because I do hear that war buddies are more like brothers. They really do see each other and they help each other way more. In war,
you literally live with them, and you go through hell, and you come out of it, and you literally take bullets for them, not metaphorically.
Or you take bullets together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Defending each other. Yeah. But yeah, still, it's amazing, because I know you made some pretty good friendships in school to this day. You guys don't live near each other, don't see each other much, but you guys still talk a lot. Yeah.
Yep. It's one of the best things. It's one of the things I miss from university is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today, guys.
End of the episode.
Yeah. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like. If you're looking for the audio version only, you can find it on the Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below.
All right, guys. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.